We are so back. Here is everything you need to know about the Carissa Broadbent universe. Carissa Broadbent feels like a romantasy pioneer. She writes romantic fantasy so well that all I can think about are her books. Seriously, like, these books have me in a chokehold. As the prolific writer she is, she has so many incredible books that are available to read, and sometimes it can get a little bit difficult to distinguish where to start. So let me tell you how all of these books interconnect or don't, and we're going to go through how to read the books in order so that you get the full experience. I'm going to try and do this as spoiler-free as possible, but Carissa Broadbent actually wrote an article on the universe, on the Crowns of Nyaxia universe, on our website. So if you do want to know the full spoilers for what happens in these books, you can go and check it out with the link in the description. To start the Crowns of Nyaxia series, it's worth noting that the series is split up into duologies, which means 2 books in a series. So we have the Nightborn duet, the Shadowborn duet, and then there are a couple novellas and novels in between, which we'll get into. So you're going to start off with The Serpent and the Wings of Night. In this book, we are met with Aurea. Aurea is a human who was found by a vampire king called Vincent. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is that Samaran from, I can't even say his name, from Lord of the Rings? Yes, it is. I've taken some creative liberty with some of these. The character art for these books are phenomenal, but sometimes my brain just can't help it. So Vincent basically takes Aurea in and looks after her and kind of raises her as his own child. And when she is old enough, she decides to enter this competition and trial called the Kajari, which basically means that she is able to, if she wins, be gifted a wish or a favor from the goddess Nyaxia. For context, this is Nyaxia. She's absolutely terrifying, but she is like the vampire queen goddess. Of course, Aurea is a human compared to all of the vampires, so we have a little bit of an issue going on there because there are so many vampires that are entered into this trial, which also includes Rain. Before Superman came out, this man was Rain to me, okay? David Corenswet is Rain, and every other man in a book. Rain also ends up competing in these trials with Aurea, and the pair form an unlikely alliance. But the problem with this alliance is there can only be one winner. So who's going to win and what's going to happen to one of these two? The ending of The Serpent and the Wings of Night is genuinely like whiplash. It's crazy. Scenes are played out, and I loved it so much. And that is where you're going to start on this journey. So once you finished up with The Serpent and the Wings of Night, before you get into the second book in the duology, you're going to pick up 6 Scorched Roses, which, oh my gosh, everybody says this is the best novella they've ever read, and I have to agree. I've never read a novella quite like this one. Considering how short this book is, it is phenomenal. Our main characters in this one are Lilith, who is played by Kate Winslet in my head, specifically in Titanic, and Vale, who, I can't explain it, this man, Dev Patel, is Vale. So this book takes place parallel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night, so they're happening at the same time. Lilith is a terminally ill scientist who is trying to find a cure for a disease that is rife in her town at the moment and is just killing people and ultimately destroying where she lives. And the disease was actually put onto the town by the god of abundance called Vitaris, who does become important like in later books. So what does Lilith do to try and find a cure for this disease? She seeks out the help of Vale, and Vale is very much like a reclusive vampire who lives in the middle of nowhere. Nobody talks to him. Nobody really knows what went down with him, and she offers him a deal that he just can't refuse, and also she has to let him accept. He has to help her because it seems to be the only way. And with neither of them being able to refuse what's going on between them, there's a little bit of tension, and it leads really nicely into our next book. Once you've read 6 Scorched Roses, that's when you go back into the duology of the Nightborn duet. We then come on to The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. She is a thick book. There is so much that goes into this. It's wonderful, like literally so good. So after the aftermath of what happened at the end of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, Aurea finds herself in a very, very precarious situation because she is basically a prisoner in her own home. And Rain is not in that much better of a situation either, because people are not loving the fact that he is a turned vampire and former slave that now has some form of power. And Aurea wants her kingdom back. She's decided that actually this kingdom belongs to her. She was the one who was under Vincent for so long, so she feels as though she has a claim to this throne. But there is another plot twist that comes in, and these two must pair up together to actually save the kingdom and work out how are they going to rule together? Do they want to rule together under the new circumstances? It's just so crazy. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King is like a really just, it hits. It really does hit. At the end of the book, their story is semi-finished. So this is when we move on to the next section of the Crowns of Neaxia series. After you finish the Ashes and the Starcast King, you're going to go into Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. I think this could potentially be my favorite of all of them. I really enjoyed I enjoyed them all. I'm sat here like I enjoyed every single book. They were all fantastic. I loved them. I want more. But this one specifically, I really loved out of the Crowns of Neaxia series. New characters introduced, let's go. Selena. Selena is a member of the Arakasen, which is the cult of Akagea. You will have met her, she's a goddess in the other books, but I'm really trying not to give spoilers, but you will have met her in the other ones. And what members of the cult do is that they destroy their own eyes so they can see through the threads of fate. Now, Selena is actually assigned a mission of assassinating Atreus, who is a horned vampire leader of like a group of vampires. And this is Atreus. And basically, Atreus is attempting to overthrow a really cruel vampire king. But the other members of the cult are like, this can't happen, don't let it happen. However, the longer that these two spend together, the more Selena starts to realize, what happens when all you know is actually not the right thing to know? And maybe Atreus is actually onto something. And as she begins to understand Atreus's way of life, she's left with the question, can she actually do what she was tasked to do, which is assassinate him? Okay, we finish this one and we move on to the next duology, which is the Shadowborn duet. And we start with the Songbird and the Heart of Stone. And in this book, we're actually back with a character that you would have met in book 2 called Misha. She's so pretty. And now this is me giving you your spoiler warning. The next section is extremely spoilery. I will put on the video when it no longer becomes spoilery. This next book I'm slightly spoiling, but the book after I won't be. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. Misha is Rain's best friend. They've been through a lot together, which you find out in The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Starcast King. But Misha is captured by the House of Shadow because she actually murdered their prince, because he was the one who turned her into a vampire. So obviously she's not a happy bunny. However, before her execution, because she has committed a crime of murdering the crown prince, we bump into Asar. And Asar is actually the other prince of the house as well. So he stops the execution and he's like, actually, rather than sentencing her to death, let me have her. I'm going to take her to the underworld because I've been given a mission by Neaxia, the goddess herself, to do something. And I need Misha's help. Obviously, Misha can't say no. It's like this or death. And so the two descend into the underworld to fulfill a mission, which is basically to resurrect Neaxia's husband. Now, when I show you what Alaris, Neaxia's husband, looks like in my head, don't laugh. Don't laugh, okay? He looks like Arrow from the Volturi to me. So we learn a bit of backstory about these two and how they actually ended up getting separated. And now Neaxia's like, actually, go to the underworld and get my husband back. I want him back right now. I missed him for too long. Bring him back. And so Misha and Asar descend into the underworld. And the thing is, are they going to come back? I don't know. You'll have to read the book. So the last book in the Crowns of Neaxia series, for now, is coming out in August, and it's called The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. So no spoilers anymore. You can watch me again. Hello if you've just come back. The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk is the conclusion to Misha and Asar's story. So we now know that the world is on the precipice of war. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for them. And Asar is trying to save Misha from her fate, very honestly, worse than death. And when Asar accepts help from a being he probably shouldn't have accepted help from, he ends up sacrificing all that he knows and all that he is. But will it be enough to save Misha? And maybe even the world? Well, that's it, guys. That's it for the Crowns of Neaxia. However, what is that I hear you say? Days, like, does Carissa have anything else coming out that I would be interested in? Oh. Yes, she does. You finish the Crowns of Neaxia series and you're thinking, I need another book. Give it to me. Let me share. Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent comes out this October, and I think this is my favorite Carissa book. And this book, I read it very recently. Oh my god, I actually can't explain in words how much I loved this book. Like, seriously, guys, I know I say I love a lot of books, but this one, trust me, this one was a little bit different. It was great. It was great. And so this is in a completely different world to the Crowns of Neaxia series. It's a whole new series, and the series is called The War of Lost Hearts, with the first book, Daughter of No Worlds, coming out, like I said, in October. And I'll give you a little synopsis blurb of what it's about. Again, no spoilers for this one though, because it's not even out yet. We start by following Tisana, who is a slave, and she's had a very disturbing and very taxing upbringing, and her life is just quite difficult overall. And she was sold as a slave, but recently she's earned enough money to get back her freedom. However, when she tries to make this this deal, there are disastrous consequences. And so she runs away. She's like, I've got to get out of here. I don't know what I'm doing. And she goes to a place called the Orders, which basically are like two big towers that are like ruled by all of these people, and they have control over lots of things. And so she finds refuge here and asks to join their ranks, which leads her to meet Max. Now, when I show you Max, just know this was also who I was picturing, okay? It's David Corrin Sweat, but in The Politician. Not as Superman, not in Pearl. Rent-free. Max is actually a fire wielder, and he despises the Order. Like, he hates the Orders. He thinks they're ridiculous. He has some really funny one-liners. Like, this book is really humorous compared to the rest of the Crowns of Nyaxia series. This one's really funny. Their relationship is so funny. The build-up to them actually talking to one another just initially is hilarious. And Tisana is determined to save what she left behind when she ran away, even if it means becoming something she never expected she could be. And that's what I will leave you with for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this made it a little bit easier to see how the Carissa Broadbent universe works. And don't forget, if you do want more information, because I'm just skimming the surface here, you can check the website out. I'll put the article link in the description so you can go and have a little look. And because it's written by Carissa herself, like, you know, it's a really great read. I loved reading it. And I will see you all in the next one. And don't forget to go and read The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, because it's so good. I'll see you soon. Bye.